I'm Dwan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as Moon, and this is Moon Equals Wrestling. Welcome to Moon Equals Wrestling. Like I said, I'm Dwan L. Hearn, and this is my first time playing with a camera and trying to record myself doing this show because hell, why not? Right? Why not? This episode is going to be about the highlights from the Elimination Chamber 2024 in Perth. I was going to do this already, and I've already recorded something for the audio podcast, and this will be available audio as well. But I got into talking about the situation with Maxine Dupree and how she got booed out of the arena, basically. And I've already shared all my thoughts on that. I got into like almost half an hour of just talking about that, so I felt like that should be it. That should be a stream of its own. That should be a podcast all of its own rights. My thoughts on Maxine Dupree. So if you've heard about the Maxine Dupree thing and kind of want my take on it, it's there in audio. Why I'm recording this visually? Because I'm bored and I have a brand new camera. So like, why not? With a killer microphone, can't even hate on it. The camera's pretty nice too. I almost look attractive. So going into, just going ahead and doing the thing. We're going to go talk about the Elimination Chamber, highlights from that, and how I see them leading into WrestleMania. Because let's be honest, that's what all wrestling is talking about right now. It's WrestleMania. There's a lot going on in all of wrestling, but as we're moving towards WrestleMania season, that's it. That's all there is, really. There's WrestleMania. There was some highlights, obviously, from Dynamite last night, but again, we're talking Elimination Chamber here today. So let's do that. Forgive me, I'm not actually used to looking right at the camera. So here we go. Looking at the camera, doing the things. So looking at my notes, let's talk about it. First things first, we had the Women's Tag Team Championship match during the pre-show, which I appreciate. I think it deserved a main show spot, but at the same time, it gives me a reason to watch the pre-show. Completely honest, I would have blown right past the pre-show completely if there wasn't the women's tag match involved in it. Halfway through, Kabuki Warriors, we'll still call them the Way because that's realistically that's who they are. It's Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell. Indy's obviously from Australia, so you knew she was going to be on the card. So it's the Kabuki Warriors versus the Way. So Kabuki Warriors won. We knew they would. It's fine. I forget. I'm not really sure where we're going with the women's tag team championships right now. I feel there are a few teams that are really stepping up. If I had to pick one, it would be Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. And I don't know if I want them winning. I like them as a team. I think they work out just well. I also feel like they're a heel team, as are the Kabuki Warriors. So I'm not sure how that dynamic's supposed to work. But I think that's going to be highlighted more as time is moving on. If I have to pick a team that I really want, this is no secret to anyone who knows me or my opinions on wrestling. It's Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. If we're going to do that, though, we're going to have to start now. We're going to need Jade and Bianca to interact. We're going to need a reason for them to have a beef and a reason for them to work together. I don't even care if it happens with a Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill match. The match gets interrupted by the Kabuki Warriors, by whoever, and it leads them to tag teaming together as a response to that. I think that actually works. So if you want to know my pick, it's the Kabuki Warriors versus Cargill and Belair because they're both muscular powerhouses that showcase strengths, showcase that you can be feminine and muscular and strong all in that same breath. And I'm gonna say it for the sake of saying it because it means something to me. It's the beauty and the power of being black in those spaces because that's one of the reasons why that Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair WrestleMania main event match was so important. It got mentioned on commentary. You know, to have two black women as the main event of WrestleMania is a huge step for representation. And maybe you don't understand that, but representation is powerful. It means a lot. So that match, that tag team is representation times 1,000. So so for that, I want that. Plus, I like Jade Cargill and I like Bianca Belair, and I think they'd work well together. There's a lot of people who say that that Cargill is still pretty green in the WWE scheme of things, but relatively speaking, I think that that can be hidden in a tag match. It can be hidden in a tag team, and I think if there's someone that Cargill can play off of, it's Belair. And I think if there's someone that can guide Cargill to be the strong, stoic, um, muscular figure who's showcasing strength and doing all that, that's going to be they're going to be filling the same role in the roster. I think it works best if they work side by side, and if anyone can kind of highlight that and showcase that for Cargill, it's Belair. And so those two should be working together on screen so that that association really works alongside with the fans. Beyond that, I think that really helps the fans solidify where Cargill's going to fit in the roster. And if they're already going for tag team gold, win or lose, I think it benefits everybody involved. So those are my thoughts on that tag team match from the opening. You get into the show when we have the women's Elimination Chamber match. Becky Lynch wins. We knew she would. That's kind of my story for the entire card. Like the entire card played out exactly the way I knew it would. It played out exactly the way we all thought it would. The results were the same. I think the only like questions was like, how are we going to get there? How do we get to Becky Lynch winning? How do we get to Drew McIntyre winning? And I think those were some good, fun spots at the very end. But we got the result we were looking for. Most important, Liv Morgan had the showing of a lifetime. I think we are in a slight shift in character. I think she is tuning in to what she wants to be. I feel like it's working now. The crowd's behind her. I think she's behind her. I think Liv Morgan is really exuding this character that she's trying to portray, this sort of balls to the wall kind of character. I don't know if I'm describing it well enough, but I feel as if what Liv is doing and what Liv did both in the chamber and on Raw, it's really working. And it really could change some WrestleMania plans. With Becky Lynch's win, we got Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. We knew that. But now we've got this really interesting play with Liv Morgan. Becky Lynch was beat up by Nia Jax, and Nia Jax had a match with Liv Morgan. And Becky Lynch interfered with that match to fight Nia Jax, which led to a confrontation between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan in the back. You know, she's like, hey, I was trying to do something, not everything's about you. And the look on Becky Lynch's face was like, oh, damn, I messed that up for someone else, being selfish. And I think this is really going to play into something. there's been rumors that people want Liv Morgan to be added to that triple threat match uh, at WrestleMania. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't want it. I don't. This is a match that has been set up for a while, a long while, almost about a year. You had that Monday Night Raw segment where Rhea Ripley is leaving, Becky Lynch is coming down, and they had that stare down. That was almost a year or so ago. And now we're going to get the culmination of that stare down. This is that's how that came from. It's coming from that stare down. We're getting that Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. We're getting Mommy from Judgment Day against the Man. And, Mommy and the Man, we're not going to get that same match if we add in Liv Morgan. I think if we look back to the Becky Lynch Ronda Rousey match that we wanted, and we didn't get it. They added in Charlotte Flair. I know why they added Charlotte Flair in. Rumor was that they added Charlotte Flair because they weren't sure if Becky could work the match. So by having a third person in there, worst case scenario, it's a one-on-one with Flair and Rousey. But it turned out to be that triple threat. And it was all right, but I still wanted Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, and we did not get it. And I'm still a little salty about that. So yeah, I appreciate what Morgan is doing. I think Morgan should have a place at WrestleMania. She should play a part, maybe even in this match. But I would much rather the match be straight up Ripley Lynch. Call it. And I honestly don't care who wins. The right answer was probably Ripley. I feel like it's not quite a torch passing, but it's sort of like a salute. This is your time. This is your spot. The Man has come around enough. Let Mommy have her mommy time. Outside of that, I can't speak to the improvements of Tiffany Stratton enough. One of the things I mentioned when I was talking about Maxine Dupree is how people are booing essentially the new girl, and how it's okay to not be a fan of her. It's okay to not be a fan of anyone. You don't have to like them because they're popular, but I didn't like her character. I didn't like how she was portrayed. I didn't like any of it. Talk about Tiffany Stratton. But when Tiffany Stratton fought Becky Lynch, it was that match. If you listen to the episode with about Maxine Dupree, I said that they're going to probably give her a match and tell her to just go for it, and to highlight what you can do. This is your time to show off. And I feel that the Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton match for the NXT Women's Championship was that match for Tiffany Stratton. And she showed up and she showed out. She made a fan out of me. I don't like when people kind of blatantly take other wrestlers' moves, but that's kind of where we are now. We're in a generational switch. I can't realize it's the fact that I've been watching wrestling for that long that I'm witnessing yet another generation switch. This is Tiffany Stratton taking that switch, taking that reign, and she should. She should. Tiffany Stratton. I'm so close to saying it, but I might as well go ahead and just. Tiffany's next. Tiffany Stratton is next, and as someone who is so adamantly against Tiffany Stratton, it hurts me to come to that realization that she really is as good as she kind of portrays herself to be. It's Tiffy time. And I hate myself for saying that. But because I'm a grown man saying it's Tiffy time. But it is. It is Tiffy time. It's time for Tiffany Stratton to take that seat. I am looking forward to not so much WrestleMania, but maybe looking forward to SummerSlam, because I feel like if there's anyone who should be in the next set of women's championship title programs for the next big show after Mania, the next big show is SummerSlam. It'll be in August. And I'm looking at, this is a long prediction, Rhea Ripley still as champion against Liv Morgan. And I say if she continues on this rise, give her the title. Hand it to her. Not being talked about is Bayley, which is some bullshit if you ask me. But Io Bayley, I see Bayley winning this championship and overcoming the downfall of Damage Control and her being kicked out of it. I think she comes out on top against Io, and I would have no problem with Bayley versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. And I honestly think that it could be Tiffy time then. Maybe not. Maybe give her the match, let her showcase, and then have Bayley win, and then move towards another program where she wins the championship somehow. But yeah, putting the title on Tiffany Stratton, I am not against it. I would like to see Tiffany Stratton win the championship within the next year. From now to WrestleMania 41. Before WrestleMania 41, I want Tiffany Stratton as women's champion. There, so it is what it is. Those are my thoughts. Those are my feelings. There you go. Because I feel like this is a better spot to discuss it. One of the things I had noticed when she came out to the ring was Raquel Rodriguez, Shoulder Blades, what we typically call her at home, and she came out blatantly looking different. And it's one of those things that really makes you acknowledge how much TV prep, they do for the visual. And so she came out without makeup. And that was because she was having a flare up of her MCAS. That's what kept her out for so long. That was her condition. There's a really moving video that she put out on Instagram or X or whichever one. And it really kind of highlights what she was going through physically. And I, again, not a huge fan of Raquel Rodriguez character in the ring. But the more you see a wrestler as a person, the more you can kind of sympathize with the character. Like if there's an actor that you like a lot in any kind of movie or television, you're going to like whatever character they portray a little bit more than you otherwise would, because you're a huge fan of them. And I appreciate, one, the struggle that Raquel Rodriguez is going through. I can appreciate that. I've not dealt with anything to that nature. But in response to that, I can't imagine having to deal with MCAS. And I looked it up because I had no idea what that was. And MCAS is mast cell activation syndrome, which, to the shortened version of what I read of what it is basically your body goes through episodes of anaphylactic symptoms. So anaphylactic shock is when you have like an allergic reaction to something, and her skin is just her body's reacting as if it's allergic to something. And I didn't deep dive the disease, but I feel as if your body is reacting. I mean, I've had my body react to something I didn't like, and you're itchy. If you've been bitten by a mosquito, you know what I mean? You've been bitten by a mosquito, that's an allergic reaction, right? And that's, I guess, the mildest version of what I'm talking about. And I know what it's like to be bitten by a mosquito in like 5 places at once. And that is unbearable. The idea of your body going through the types of things that her video showcased. I don't know. I don't even know how I would react to it. So the fact that she not only is she dealing with that day to day regularly, but had a flare up at the show and did not bail out, did not leave the match, did the match as she was supposed to. I think she was third eliminated. I'm checking my notes. She was third eliminated. So she was in the match for a grip. She started the match. Did she start the match? No. She was the fifth to come out, third eliminated. So she's in that chamber. She's in that pod. And she is having this flare up and still work the match. Listen, I don't have to be your biggest fan, Raquel Rodriguez. You're never going to hear this. But if in some weird universe you do, kudos to you. My heart goes out to you. All my love and consideration goes out to you. Kudos to you, and shout out for being a badass. I don't know what else to say. That's some badass energy right there. And I can really, really support someone doing that. Someone who takes their love for the business and doing the damn thing regardless. You know what I mean? To me, that puts you on that Triple H Cody Rhodes level. Triple H tears his quad, finishes his match with the walls of Jericho on the table, knowing he tore his quadricep muscle. Cody Rhodes tears his pec, tears it all the way, can't hurt it anymore, goes ahead and does a Hell in a Cell match. You nuts? Are you crazy? She's having this allergic reaction. She's going through all this, and she's still a badass and kicks ass in the ring like nothing's happening. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, don't give hate to these wrestlers, man, because they're doing some badass shit that we can't necessarily. I can't claim to do that. There's people who call out of work because they got a bad cough. You're having a big allergic reaction to things, and you're just going to still do the match in front of 50,000 people. Fuck yeah. Kudos to Raquel Rodriguez. All the love in the world to you, baby girl. All the love in the world to you. When I did my moving on, as I did my predictions episode, I completely missed that there was a men's tag match. I remember the lead up to it, and I somehow completely forgot about it. It was the Judgment Day, Finn and Priest, versus the New Catch Republic. That's what we're calling British Strong Style now. And we got Tyler Bate and the Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne. We got him back. I'm so proud. I'm so happy to have Pete Dunne back. I can't tell you how happy I am that Pete Dunne is Pete Dunne. And so I totally forgot about that match. So my prediction would have obviously been Judgment Day, because Judgment Day, I want them to have that match at WrestleMania against Awesome Truth, The Miz, R-Truth. And I think we're still on track for that. So Judgment Day wins, of course, and we're leading towards that match with Truth and Miz. I'm really interested to see what's going on with this R-Truth DIY Miz Regeneration X thing. Now, you know me, you know my favorite colors are black and green because of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. The idea of a Regeneration X actually being a thing, you know what? I'm cool with it. Just let's let R-Truth do R-Truth's thing. It's going to involve The Miz. It's going to involve DIY. Does that make DIY the New Age Outlaws in this? Is that it? Like, I'm down for it. I'm cool. It's not the roles they're playing, but if this becomes a real faction, I'm in. Let's do all the things. I'll buy the t-shirt. I'll do an episode with the camera in the t-shirt. Bet. So again, we're rolling with that. Cody does his challenge against The Rock in the Grayson Waller Effect episode, and I'm curious at how this is going to play. We got what looked like a setup for a tag team matchup at the press conference, the kickoff show press conference thing that they did in Vegas before the Super Bowl, and it looked like we're going to have a tag match: Roman Reigns, Rock versus Cody and Rollins. But I'm not really sure how this is going to play into the story. But something Seth Rollins did on Monday Night Raw may have answered that question. Seth Rollins had a conversation with Drew McIntyre, his opponent for WrestleMania. And he said, leave the bloodline thing alone. This is what Drew said to Seth. Leave the bloodline thing alone, because if you don't, the bloodline is going to interfere in our championship match. That's going to taint my victory over you at WrestleMania, and I don't want that. I don't want people saying that I only won just because the bloodline interfered. Fair. So then you have Seth Rollins saying, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, this is what I need to do, because it doesn't matter whether it's you or me. If the bloodline makes the decision that they want this gold too, they're going to come after it. They're going to do the same thing as they always do. They're going to jump in, interfere, play the numbers game. Whether it's you or me, they're going to turn around and take this title. Seth Rollins says, I'm coming after the bloodline. I'm taking the fight to the bloodline. The bloodline ends with us. And that's essentially what Cody Rhodes also said at the end of the night to Paul Heyman. So if we're establishing Cody and Seth as the leaders of this team against the bloodline, to kill the bloodline once and for all, I'm in. I think that's a really great way to end that storyline. You know, it's incredible that we've had this storyline for as long as we've had. To have one central faction playing such a role in WWE programming that it's literally taken over everything. And I think on the other side of that, on the other side of the bloodline, again, I want Solo to go solo. And I want Solo Sikoa to have Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece. I need him to be his wise man. I need that to happen. Let Solo be on a tear. I don't care how it happens. It's got to happen. Get Jimmy back with Jay. I don't think Jay needs the Jimmy, but I think Jimmy needs the Jay. Whatever this character variation is for Jimmy Uso isn't working for me. I get it, though. Just not for me. I appreciate Jey Uso as a singles competitor. I would love to see him hold a singles title. I think he deserves one. I think he's long due for one. But I think you can still do that as a part of a tag team. You know what I mean? So I want to see the Usos back together. That's just me. I'm also a big fan of the Usos. As a matter of fact, you can put the Usos and the New Day together officially. And I mean, I don't know what you're going to call them. The New Day one-ish. The New Day ones. The Nusos. Don't do the Nusos. It'd be really funny, but the Nusos. I might refer to it as the Nusos from here forward, just because I think that's kind of funny. But yeah, put them together as the Nusos. We'll go with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. The WWE post Bloodline will be a lot more entertaining WWE, and I think it's worth doing. And it's neat. It's not that it's worth doing. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. It needs to happen now. WrestleMania 40 has to be essentially the end of the bloodline. You can trail out the story, that's fine, but it has to kick off the end of the bloodline here and now. This has to happen. We need more championship defenses regularly on TV, like Seth Rollins is doing. We need more regular Intercontinental Championship, U.S. Championship matches, kind of like Gunther's doing on Raw. We need that. I need Logan Paul to drop that belt or be on TV full time. One of the two. Uh, we are beyond the part-time wrestler thing. We're beyond it. It's the part-time champion thing is too much. It's not enough. You got guys out here like Jey Uso, LA Knight, who he's long past due for gold. He should have been United States champion first. We should have been putting him in that reign. He should have had that U.S. championship. He can go back and forth with a Kevin Owens. He can go back and forth with an AJ Styles. It doesn't ultimately matter, but belt should have been on Knight by now. We're overdue. And I think LA Knight's going to lose a lot of momentum if he doesn't have a belt in the next month or two, from being honest. SummerSlam's too long. He needs a belt before SummerSlam. I'm thinking we should do like a multi-man match at Mania. Put Logan Paul in it, and this way make it a ladder match. Who doesn't like a good ladder match? United States Championship ladder match, throw Knight in it. You're not going to have that because you're going to have LA Knight versus AJ Styles. I'm cool with the match. I get the match, but I need LA Knight as champion sooner rather than later. Speaking of Logan Paul at the end of the men's chamber match, him fighting Randy Orton? Why though? He came through at the end, punched Randy Orton after Randy Orton gave Drew McIntyre the RKO. He cost Randy Orton the chamber. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. Because I don't want Logan Paul beating Randy Orton, especially at WrestleMania. But I also don't want Randy Orton as United States champion because I don't think that that's where his championship. I don't think that's where it needs to be. It doesn't need to be there. It was a very interesting play as we're talking about WrestleMania. And this conversation is mostly about WrestleMania and setting up for that. On Monday Night Raw, we had Damian Priest confront Gunther. And Gunther made mention of cashing in Money in the Bank on him. Listen, Money in the Bank's for the world title. I don't care who you are. This has always been. It's for a world title. It's always been about the world title. And the fact that you allowed Austin Theory to cash in for a not world championship really messed this thing up for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Pigeonholing these world titles like we have been, you're ruining things. This is why I said the bloodline thing's got to go. The part-time championship thing, it's got to go. Because honestly, Seth hurt, Roman's not around, Paul's not around. The only person Damian Priest has got to even compete with is Gunther. The fact that he can use it for that is great. Is that a best use for the Money in the Bank? No, it's not. It's not. Even the NXT breakout contract being used for the North American Championship. Come on. Come on. Come on. Like why? Like why? You know, Ilya Dragunov being hurt, it's right there. For the breakout championship. Money in the Bank, Seth hurt, he's right there. It's right there. Being hurt has never been, that didn't stop Alberto Del Rio when it got cashed in. You know, I think that was the Dolph Ziggler cash in, was Alberto Del Rio being hurt. That didn't matter. He would have been cleared for that match. Didn't matter. Money in the Bank, chance right there. Knock him out, take him out, get the belt. I need Damian Priest to get gold too. He's been holding that briefcase for too long. Damian Priest has been holding his spot too long. Tag champ's great. I think it's a good story, and you're going to have a good match against Awesome Truth. But man, you're denying the guy, and we're doing this too much. Austin Theory, LA Knight, Damian Priest. These are the guys who should be the next set of champions. You know, you could include an AJ Styles in a conversation like that, but this isn't about AJ Styles, who's a multi-time world champion. This is about the people who have not been world champion in WWE now. So you're looking at the next, the people who are next. Like I said, Tiffany Stratton is next. Damian Priest should be next. LA Knight should be next. LA Knight should be now. Austin Theory should be in a better position than he is now. I like what he's doing, it's okay. But we are holding down the next round of great champions. And I'm not here for that. We should be doing better as wrestling promotions and not holding back our good talent. In AEW, we've got Revolution coming around the corner this weekend, I think, actually. Yeah, this weekend. And what we're doing is we should be setting up Swerve. Swerve Strickland should be world champion by Monday. If everything goes the way it should, Swerve Strickland will be the first Black AEW world champion in AEW short history. He'll always be the first. This is the time to pull that trigger on Swerve. Pull the trigger on Swerve. All right? AEW is lining up who's next. MJF was next, and they gave him the belt. Tag teams, the Guns were doing the work. They were next. The Acclaim, they were next. They're up. And you got these people who are moving up, and they're moving up into those title areas. One last shout out to Sting, and Sting has his last match. I would like to see Sting retain those tag team championships with Darby Allin and then retire as champion, relinquish his championship, and allow Darby Allin to hold both titles until he finds himself a new partner. And I think they're setting that up somehow, some way. This is what wrestling should be. The old guard opening the door, moving out of the way for the new. Let Randy Orton win a belt just so he can lose it to LA Knight. Who knows? Who cares? Have LA Knight beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Have Randy Orton beat Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Then have Randy Orton turn around in a month or so and lose the title to LA Knight. I'm cool with that. However we do it, we need to do it quickly. Having this new round of champions, Becky Lynch, I don't want to call her old guard. This is not about Becky Lynch's age. This is just where Becky Lynch, her position in the card was. She's been the man for a while. And I think that it's time to let Rhea Ripley run this new division. In the course of this new division, you have that next guard. You have that Tiffany Stratton. You got those Jade Cargill. You got those Liv Morgan. Even though Liv Morgan has been a tag team and women's champion already, she's been Money in the Bank already. I think Liv Morgan is running into a space where she's going to be in that new guard. And I think this is what WrestleMania 40 should be for. Establishing the new guard. DIY. Tiffany Stratton. Jade Cargill. Let Liv Morgan be a part of that new guard. Let that go with LA Knight. Let that be with Austin Theory, even though he's been around a minute. This is where you go now. And I think we're at that period of time where now we can do that. We can do this with the new guard. WrestleMania 40 should be establishing the new guard. Solo Sikoa. Part of that new guard. I think he can lead the new charge. He may not be the next Cody Rhodes. He may not be the next Roman Reigns, but he can be a part of that top title contingency. With your guys like Gunther, with your guys like Drew still leading that old charge from the ring. Randy's on his way out. I can see it. Drew, I don't think he's on his way out. I think he's in a resurgence. It's fantastic. Either way it goes, that should be where we should be headed. I'll close this with two. One, my rundown of, for now, where I see Mania. I see undisputed WWE Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. 1-on-1. World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Call it 1-on-1. Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch. 1-on-1. Io Sky defending the WWE Women's Championship against Bayley. 1-on-1. I see the Judgment Day defending the Undisputed Tag Team Championships against Awesome Truth. I want Awesome Truth to win. Running it down. I think Cody wins. I think Seth retains. I feel Ripley should win and Bayley should win. Judgment Day should lose, and this opens the door for Priest to go for the next championship. Just looking through. I think we're going to get AJ Styles versus LA Knight. For that, I want LA Knight to win. He needs his momentum back. We need to get him moving back forward. Moving forward, I think we got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in some way interacting. They should be in a tag match. I'd love to see this tag program starting now. But I think this gives Jade and Bianca that stage. They should do something together. Even if it's a multi-women match, I don't really care, but I need those two working together. I feel like Jade Cargill needs a Bianca Belair. They held similar roles when they were at separate companies. Now they're in the same company together, same brand. I need them working together for Jade's sake. I don't know. I think that's all I got right now for WrestleMania. So that's the one. In the end, I'll go ahead and close this off with a in memory of Virgil. Virgil passed away sometime yesterday, the day before, and I want to give my my condolences to the family. I wasn't a huge Virgil fan, and honestly, for a lot of people that I knew, Virgil didn't hold a very respected place in history. But I want to give my respects to the family. Clearly, there's a lot of people who did love the character of Virgil. I saw a lot of clips of Virgil turning his back on the $1 Million Man and him standing up for himself. A great moment. I think it was at Rumble 91. But the highlight I really want to close the show on is this. Let's not take these moments for granted. Let's not look at a wrestler now, wait till they pass away, and think, you know what? In retrospect, they were pretty nice. They were pretty good in the ring. They did a great job after all. Let's stop doing that. And let's, give them their proverbial flowers now, while they're still here. Let's give Sting his flowers now. Let's give Triple H his flowers now. Let's give The Rock his flowers now. Let's give Austin his flowers now. Taker, Kane, give them their flowers now. Hogan, Flair, give them their flowers now. Because we're going to say a bunch of positive, lovely, dubby things when they pass. Let's not wait. Yes, some of the names that I mentioned in that little short list are problematic. You may be giving them dead flowers. Flowers nonetheless. I want to use this to tie all the way back to the Maxine Dupree thing. We're going to look at Maxine Dupree differently in 6 months. We're going to look at Maxine Dupree differently in 1 year. Okay, so let's look at today and not shun progress while it's progressing. Because in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to be looking at Maxine Dupree. In 50, 60 years, we're going to be looking at Maxine Dupree in memory, and we're going to be like, man, I remember her early matches with the Alpha Academy. I remember her debut, and remember her fighting Valhalla, and it was a scrappy little match. I remember she did the thank you, and it was great. Let's not wait 50, 60 years to tell her how great she is or how great she can be. Let's motivate her. Let's motivate Maxine Dupree to that point where we're looking at her in reflection of her career, and we're saying, damn, that was a damn good career she had. I was thoroughly sports entertained. She made me smile. She made me want to put my little bunny ears in the air and go, thank you. You know what I mean? So having heard all these years of negativity against Virgil, only to hear everyone highlight Virgil now that he's passed. Let's use this as a teaching moment, a very teachable moment. Thank you, Chase U. And let's remind ourselves not to wait so long. Let's look at the positives now, highlight the positives now, work on the negatives. People are still open for criticism. Criticism helps. I take criticism all the time, and that just helps me develop to be a better whatever it is I'm doing. And let's just do that. Let's just do that. Let's try to utilize positivity to push and promote yet more positivity. Okay. With that, I am going to go ahead and sign off on this because, of course, why not? I'm done talking. I've talked a long time. So, for Moon Eagles Wrestling, I'm Dewan Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. And be kind. Be kind. But hit the button. Also hit the button.